Brandon Aiyuk, in this interview, said that the Niners are the best team in the league, hands down, this season. Hands down, best team in the league this season. How do you feel about him saying that? Him believing that, him saying that?
Well, it depends. From a roster standpoint, I probably agree with what he's saying. From a roster standpoint, maybe outside the quarterback position, and no knock on Brock Purdy, he was playing fantastic. But if you're just looking at the roster, if you're looking at the roster before the season and you put Brock Purdy as the quarterback, I think the 49ers have the strongest roster in the NFL. Brock Purdy being the unknown because we didn't know anything about him. Now, he played fantastic. He went down, and that could have been a big part of. Well, it at least would have been competitive had Brock Purdy stayed in that game. But overall, I think we've been saying it for the last couple of years that the roster is the strongest in the NFL, and that's probably why it's so damn frustrating that they keep not going the distance. For me, at least. So the best team in the NFL part, it doesn't really bother me. I think I probably agree with him. But where are they at now? And you see the Eagles are in the playoffs, and the Chiefs Eagles and Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. So I mean, this year the best two teams are the Chiefs and the Eagles. Ultimately, maybe on paper the 49ers are the best, but in reality, Eagles and the Chiefs are the two best teams in the NFL.
And this isn't Brandon Aiyuk's mentality. It's clearly the entire team's, and it's Kyle Shanahan's mentality. He's the leader, and he's the one who sets the tone. I guess I don't really like this mentality. It's like, that's what the playoffs are supposed to determine. That's what games are supposed to determine. It's almost like the Niners collectively as an organization wish that there was like a coach's poll, an AP poll at the end of the year. That, someone's going to win the bowl game, but what really matters is what people vote on after the season, and they should win that vote. It's like, this isn't college football, man. Someone's going to win the Super Bowl. That's the best team that year, end of story. So, no one remembers who the best team was theoretically 4 years ago. It's whoever won the Super Bowl. So, that whole mentality to me is kind of collegey. But, on the other hand, what's Brandon supposed to say, right? Hey, we just weren't that good. We didn't get it done. We weren't good enough. I get it. Part of what this team has is this, they're the most confident team in the league, or they're up there. And that's a good thing. You want a confident team. Kyle imparts this swagger into his roster. But I guess what I would feel is it doesn't border on overconfidence. It goes way into overconfidence. And the difference between confidence and overconfidence is when the loss happens, if you're overconfident, I don't think you can really look inward and change. I think it prevents change. Because overconfidence is, we were the best team in the league. You got to be lucky to win the Super Bowl. And if we just keep hammering at it, we'll get luck eventually. How many times you got to come up short before you realize that it's not a luck issue? And that's not Brandon. I'm talking Kyle. So I think this is kind of, it's a microcosm of the 49ers' overconfident attitude. I think it started in 2017. Remember, Jimmy came here. They won 5 in a row, and they were talking wild at the end of the season. Hey, NFL's lucky we didn't make it in because no one wants to see us. Guys, chill. So ever since really the beginning of this era of Kyle, they've had this attitude hey, man, we were the best team. We just didn't get to prove it in the playoffs. 6 years in a row. And I feel man, no one's going to remember you guys as the best team if you never sealed the deal. You got to get at least one ring to validate this entire era. And you're not going to get one if you keep telling yourself that you're the best, the champs on paper. You got to be the champs in hardware, not on paper.
Yeah, I mean, the reality for me is that the 49ers have been the best team outside of the quarterback position for the last few years. It's either because the quarterback's not top 10, top 12, or because they're injured. This year it was Brock Purdy going down. Who knows what would happen had he stay in. But I see your point on overconfidence. There's a difference between being confident and overconfident. As a coach, when I was a coach, I would, try to make my kids as confident as possible. But that doesn't mean that I'm underestimating my opponent or thinking that I don't have to plan to overcome their strengths just because I think we're the best team. So there's a balance there, right? You have to balance that.
Let's say Brandon's, it's not just Brandon, it's Kyle. Kyle believes the Niners were the best team this year. Kyle believes they were the best team in 2019. Let's say he's right. They were the best team in those years. They didn't win the Super Bowl either time.
Yeah.
Well, what does that say about him and the team? From Kyle's perspective, it says, well, there's a certain amount of luck baked into the sport. I can't control that. We got unlucky 2 times. I would say, no. You had the best team in the league twice. You didn't win the Super Bowl. Like, that's almost more painful. It's not like you were Brian Daboll's Giants and you were, no. You guys were pretty much looked at as the best team in the league. You saw yourselves that way and you came up short. That, to me, is painful. You got to live, and you'll live with that the rest of your lives if you don't win a Super Bowl at some point. You will always look back. You'll be 70, and you'll think, man, 2019, man, 2022, those were our years, and it'll eat at you unless you win it soon. You know what I'm saying? And like in football, it's not like basketball where the Warriors could feel like, man, we got 10 years worth of title runs as long as we got Steph Curry. I mean, you don't know when this window is going to close. Nick Bosa is going to be making like $35 million a year coming up pretty soon. This is all going to change. So you can't keep squandering these opportunities and telling yourself like, we were the best team. It's all right. We were the best team that year. We'll get them next year.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
49ers maybe they need to clarify we have the best team outside of the quarterback position. And, Jimmy was never – if Jimmy Garoppolo is your quarterback, you don't have the best team. You might have the best team outside of the quarterback position. Yeah. Now, with Brock Purdy, he was playing phenomenal. Maybe,
but he was the 4th best of the quarterbacks left in the playoffs. Let's be honest.
Yes, he was. He was. And maybe that's good.
And
enough
Steve Young, sorry to cut you off. Steve Young said you need super duper level quarterbacks to make it this far. And I mean, look around. I mean, maybe. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. I cut you off.
I mean, this is a quarterback-driven league. Period. And I've been talking about it. We talked about it last night. I was talking about it with Jesse. Like, is there really such thing as a Super Bowl window if you don't have a top 10, top 12 quarterback? Now, again, Brock Purdy was playing like a top 10 quarterback. Whether he turns out to be a top 10 caliber quarterback or not, that's yet to be determined. But he was playing like one. So the 49ers had a legit chance. To me, this was their best chance of winning a Super Bowl this year because on paper, their roster to me was better than everybody. Brock went down. But again, I don't know. To me, when I was looking at the trenches between the 49ers and the Eagles, it seemed like the Eagles were winning that battle. So I don't know if the 49ers would have won if Brock Purdy stays healthy. But they definitely would have been a hell of a lot more competitive had he stayed into it. But again, I think that the 49ers need to recognize that they have had the best roster in the NFL for a couple years now outside of the quarterback position, which seems to be Kyle Shanahan's Achilles heel. He either can't find them or he can't protect them or they don't stay healthy or whatever it is. But that always seems to be the problem. Everyone compares him to Andy Reid. Andy Reid didn't win a Super Bowl until he got Patrick Mahomes. So this is just the reality, man. Your quarterback is the most important position in the NFL. It's the reason they get paid the most. It's the reason why all these protections are put in place. And until Kyle figures that part out, it really doesn't matter the rest of your roster. I mean, you might get lucky with a great defense and a quarterback that gets hot at the right time. But until you dial in that quarterback position, you're not a Super Bowl team.
Let me side with Brandon for a second before we finish this.
Yeah.
It wasn't Brandon's fault they lost to Philly, and it wasn't Brock's fault they lost to Philly. I don't care what Kyle says. He could have stepped up in the pocket. It wasn't Brock's fault. It was Kyle's fault. The game plan was wrong. Brandon essentially revealed what the game plan was. The game plan was to expose Philly's defense. That's wrong. There's nothing to expose. Because whatever you thought you saw in the secondary, man, you got to have a really good, not just a good offensive line, but good tight ends, good running backs, a good protection scheme to even get to that portion of the game to try to expose them. That was the wrong idea. They had the right idea against Dallas. Although, actually, hold on. Going back to Dallas, they messed up against Dallas too. Okay, let's go get back to the Dallas game. Kyle comes out passing. Thankfully, Dallas doesn't get a lead. And Kyle Juszczyk and the vets in the team go up to Kyle and they're like, hey, man, can we go back to running the ball, please, and win? And they do. But this game was over before that could happen. Yeah. So, again, I don't blame Brock Purdy. I thought Brock Purdy was terrific in the playoffs. I don't know if he's great, but he was terrific. At some point, the head coach has got to come along to the party, too, and stop, reliving his own mistakes.
Yeah. Well, I think when it comes to the Brock Purdy injury, I have equal blame with – I mean, obviously, if Brock Purdy steps up in the pocket or gets that ball out a little quicker, there's no – he doesn't get injured. But the game plan was also flawed. Like
Yeah.
you have to allow, you have to overcome those risks, right? You have to think ahead. Okay, yeah, if Brock Purdy gets this out on time, this may happen. But what if he doesn't? What could happen? Is Tyler Kroft going to be able to hold off Hassan Reddick? Right? That has to come into his mind as a coach, right? You can't just say, hopefully this works, or I think this will work. You need to go with your strengths. And the Eagles' weakness on defense was a run game and defending the running back out of the backfield in the passing game. That's what he should have been doing, not trying to, hopefully this works. If Brock gets this out on time, it's worked. If not, he's going to get murdered. And that's what happened. And so ultimately it falls on Kyle too.
I predicted that the Eagles would win 20-16. I thought it was going to be a low-scoring game. I thought both defenses would play well. They did. I mean, the Niners ended up giving 31 points, but they gave up less than 4 yards a carry. They gave up like 120 passing yards. Yeah, they gave up touchdowns, but really their defense was playing well. The Eagles weren't even trying to do much. Their biggest play was a catch that really shouldn't have counted if Kyle had challenged it. The Niners defense did well. Kyle's game plan was, we're going to have to score a lot of points to win this game. That was the wrong game plan. He comes out taking shots in the first, second series. No. What you should do is play how you always play against the Rams. Ball control, quick passing, run the ball, win the time of possession, never put your quarterback in a position to get sacked. I mean, we've seen Kyle do it all the time. When he goes against a defense that he respects, a pass rusher that he respects, he never lets that guy wreck the game. But for whatever reason, he wanted to expose Philly. Well, that was the wrong game plan. If you had just been a little bit more conservative on offense, you wouldn't have lost the game on offense, which is what you did. You could have won the game with your defense because Philly wasn't there to do a damn thing in that game. In retrospect. Now, to be fair, a quality control Grant told them that they needed to win I said they needed to put up points. But I don't know why I said that, because then I predicted Philly to win scoring 20. I'm a walking contradiction. But I do feel like he was just too aggressive against his team.
Well, the first error, in my opinion, was this Eagles team is one of, if not the best, they might be the best at scoring on their first drive.
Thank you.
So
I want to say that I put that in my live blog. Hey, I think the Niners, if they win the toss, should take the ball because you don't want to start from behind against this team that starts quick with this pass rush. But Kyle never, ever, he just does what he does. Sorry.
Get the ball first, right? Instead of deferring, choose to receive the ball. Get the ball first. Utilize the hell out of that run game. Use Christian McCaffrey out of the backfield. Take your time, dinking and dunking upfield. See if they can stop you. See where that's at. Fill it out. And then your play action is actually going to be more effective later on anyways if you go with that route, if you want to take shots later on. But that was the strategy to beat the Eagles. That's what they should have done.
They didn't need to take shots on play action to win this game. Philly didn't. What did Philly do in this game on offense? They ran the ball a lot, and they threw some, curl routes and slants. I mean, they did, safety-first football. They were not trying to impress anyone. Nick Sirianni wasn't trying to dazzle Brian Baldinger. It was just, let's just not turn the ball over. Let's run the ball a lot. Let's win. And it worked. I think look at how well Christian McCaffrey played. The Niners could have put him in a position to win the game. First play of the game, throw over the middle, George Kittle, quick throw, it worked. Dude, keep doing that.
Yeah.
Keep doing. There's so many things they did that worked, but the game was over immediately because Kyle had the wrong game plan. So Brandon, I got Brandon in trouble. I totally understand how he feels. This is a team that he feels like he could have done something to win this game. He wasn't given an opportunity. It's frustrating. I totally get that. But Kyle, man, you got to look in the mirror and understand that you were not the best. Well, you did. No. You were the best team in the league this year, and you found a way to not win a Super Bowl again, man. Again. So, fortunately, everyone loves you, and you're never going to get fired. But my professional opinion is that you should win the Super Bowl. I think that should be something that you strive to do.
Should definitely try.
I highly recommend you do that.